Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to the winners final of the AEL University Rocket League. I always love how Rocket League has league at the tail end of it all. I am Max. Joining me, of course, it is Fetch as we get ready for our, first grand finalist, I suppose, to be inducted. This is earlier in the afternoon than most of these streams. However, I think that's just because today is a hype day for Rocket League all around.
It is. If you're joining us at 2 p.m. on a Friday, thank you very much. It is a bit of an awkward time period, but I'm excited for it. I don't want to leave it to the end of the day, get like overthinking the matchup and things like that, and like watching every VOD. I'm kind of keen to just get all that done one day, get up the next day, and just play a bunch of watch a bunch of Rocket League in our case. I think that's super good.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a lot of Rocket League going on. Look, we're just going to get the elephant in the room in and out of the way. RLCS is starting later today, and that is kind of why we are pushing this match over early, because for some of these players, I feel like, hey, they're going to be playing later today. Their potential professional careers might depend on it. Why not come through with a big win in the largest university Rocket League? Again, players that win this event go on to have success in RLCS. And when I'm looking at the lineups for these two teams here today from the University of New South Wales as well as Monash, well, we've already seen players with said successes. I see Kevin07 on Monash, Negative on USYD, not to mention Kruzza as well on Monash. Like, there is a lot of players with big-time experience playing here today. This is kind of their warm-up, but at the same time, they understand the stakes. They understand the reputation that can be gained from performing an event like today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And it's a big moral boost. Like, if you're winning games, you feel like so much better going on winning games in other tournaments. People talk about momentum all the time. It's a thing for a reason. And, that's like starting here, beating players you might be seeing in the competition later on in the RLCS. That feels even better, because next time you come up against them, you've got that mental edge. You can kind of look at them and be like, hey, remember that last tournament we played? Mm-hmm. That went pretty well, didn't it? And that means a hell of a lot. I think this is, like we were talking about before, genuinely one of the more exciting matches we've had in this finals. Don't know which way it's going to go. It's super exciting.
Yeah, it is a tough one for sure, considering that both these teams, in a lot of ways, I kind of pegged as top 4, top 6 teams. Not necessarily teams I would make top 2. One of them is going to punch their ticket here. And because they're so close and so evenly matched, even coming up with a predictive winner in this matchup is a bit of a difficult. If I was, had to make a choice, I'm leaning towards Monash. I think they're going to pull it out in the end. There's just a little bit more experience throughout the entire roster on that side. However, there's a reason why Negative was the first player I mentioned. If USYD is going to come up big today, Negative really is going to be that player I'm looking out for.
I believe that. I don't know the players quite as well you do. You're so much more ingrained in the scene. But when I look at these rosters, like I said, it's a bit of a toss-up. I still do kind of end up giving it to Monash a little bit as well, just given the fact that we see them win we see them win a fair bit, right? Like you said, they do really well in some areas and kind of fall behind a little bit in others, depending on like the esport, whereas Monash seems to just consistently find wins. It's not necessarily analytical, but that's just like the gut feeling, right? When I think of Monash, I think of like big dubs.
What I kind of find interesting too is when I think of USYD, I think of ball chasing and how this team tends to double commit and triple commit in awkward moments, which is kind of funny because the Monash actually calls themselves the ball chasers. However, we've seen more discipline from the Monash side in getting to this point as well, and it goes back to where I say I think there's a bit more experience from the lineup top to bottom on the Monash team, but we're essentially picking, sands out of a bag, grains of sand out of a bag of rice in terms of like how minute the differences are between sort of these teams. It's going to be an exciting series, but before we get too into it, we will have to run through some of our wonderful sponsors for this event.
Yeah, of course. Our presenting partner, first of all, is Chatime Fresh Iced Tea. Try the new range at your local store today. Of course, they have so many breweries, 120 tea brewers with a commitment to quality ingredients, mix-ins, and a flair for innovative flavor combinations. Always let us know your favorite combinations on social media. And of course, the other one, which I love, the other slogan I absolutely love saying, Indomie, feed your game with Indomie. Another one, let us know how you have yours, whereas taking suggestions for both those products. Fantastic things to sit down and eat and drink whilst you're watching your favorite AEL University League games. And Rig headsets, what it takes to win. Rig are developing a superior audio for competitive gamers and streamers at all levels. Really, the difference sound makes in these competitive games, even in things like Rocket League, which a lot of people kind of are surprised at, it does give you that much of an advantage in immersion and mentality, and actually in getting a sense of how the field is set up so you can make those quick decisions. Finally, AOC, our monitor partner, the best viewing experience, a leader in global monitor display technology. For more than 50 years, AOC has delivered an exceptional viewing experience to millions of loyal customers worldwide. When there are events again, when we are running these sort of AEL events semi-regularly, come and have a look at our displays, not only to get a look at all of the action, to have a look, maybe win some prizes sometimes, things like that. Have a look at how good the AOC monitors are, and you'll be immediately sold.
Yeah, big thank you to all of them. And, of course, Predator as well, one of the newer sponsors to the event. A big thank you to them as well. They are our official gaming partner of this league, constantly supporting events similar to this. So a big thank you to Predator. That said, it does look like it's high time I kind of send that little message to the teams. I always love showing off like, hey, guys, it's time to go. And they get to see me type it out. I don't know why. I don't know why I like showing off the little snippets of behind the scenes. Maybe it's because I like flexing the small power that I have in these types of situations. But yes, players are going to be jumping in onto the pitch. USYD, Rocket Lorg, they will be on the blue side. That is Negative. That is Psy. That is Eki Jr. For the side of Monash, you have Kruzza. You have Kevin 007. Not to mention one Freeze with the exclamation mark. This game, it's already kicked off.
The space exclamation mark for extra style as well, you know, it's being dramatic about it. Freeze. Immediately as we talk about them, get a lovely little intercept off the corner too, and right at the moment it looks like USYD sort of starting to set up this attack pretty well. I mean, Kevin 07 wants to put an end to that one, seeing a bit of the ping pong back and forth. We sometimes see that in the first game of a series, right? You know, and that. It's sort of like, it's how we expect from Rocket League. Negative does put a decent shot on there, actually. It does end up being shut down, I should say. And USYD, they've kind of opened the aggression quite early, which I like to see in a series like this. Those early advantages can mean a fair bit.
It's very USYD to do that as well. Again, this team has been known for its aggression throughout the playoff run, sometimes to their detriment, but more often than not, they have the mechanical skills to pull it off. Case in point, Psy right here, navigating through traffic, keeping that dribble moving forward. Really well played. Kevin 07 or 007 never stood a chance. 1-0 lead for USYD.
I love Psy's little left-right as well, you know, flicks it back, catches it. Perfect play. It's the perfect dribble. It's like, you know, you see that sort of in any like training video whenever you're watching like a some sort of interview with people with players training in the background, sort of football and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty textbook. Psy has an opportunity as well here. I mean, Kevin 07 gonna try and make a contest right in front of the goal potentially. Freeze should be able to get to this one pretty quickly, but the gentle touch up the top. Passing plays coming through from Monash. Maybe they can find something like, maybe that could be the answer they find. Eki Jr., this shot is pretty devastating. Comes off the top. Negative just slams it in. And yeah, USYD definitely coming out of the gate swing.
Yeah, a second quick goal. This time just a pass off that backboard to Negative. And the thing that surprised me, both Kevin 07 and Freeze tried to play from the post. Neither really tried to attack the ball from underneath. I don't even want to bring up the backboard yet. It is far too early for that rant. However, it just seems to be a case where Monash perhaps not expecting or might not necessarily be prepared to how efficient USYD can get when on that attacking half. They really look to shut down your spacing. They look to attack quickly and accurately. And usually it takes USYD a couple games to warm up. If they're coming into game one right now feeling hot, it's going to be that much more difficult for Monash to get that momentum back.
It hasn't looked like Monash have been bad though. You know, they've looked good, they've looked solid. I mean, right at the moment, you know, they're setting up this sort of big passing play over the top. They're kind of seeming to get the feel for those kind of pass plays pretty quickly. And it is that first game of the series, of course. Kruzza gets a demo into Psy too to set this play in motion or keep it going a little bit. Answered by Eki Jr. And yeah, if Monash kind of keep this aggression on, keep the play locked into this aggressive half with some passing plays. Good knock there. Don't know if it's going to come too much. Kevin just bounced it over the top, gets that secondary touch. That angle was looking awkward, but it all comes down to that knock about here from Freeze.
Yeah, that was really well done by the Monash attacks. It's their first real scoring opportunity, and it's a promising sign that they're able to capitalize it and turn it into points. USYD at that moment did look like they were already starting to move back up the field and set up their own bit of a counterattack. So well done by the Monash side. They stuck to the play. They found the opening at the tail end of it all. They're back within this opening game. And it's good to see a bit of justification to the fact that, yes, the series is going to be back and forth. I mean, again, these two teams, it's very coin flippy, I feel like, between these sides. And this isn't just me sort of saying that. Yeah, you should know, Fetch. Usually into these, I'm like, yeah, 4-0, easy clap. Not today. This one's really up for grabs.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, let's just, I think last time we were on air together, we had that rant about how every series should be a sweep.
Oh.
Negative puts a good shot on, a very opportunistic one. Kevin 007 is able to get back there pretty nicely, and Sai just, these number of shots coming on are terrifying. And Sai is the one to slip it in. I thought there was someone else. No, it was Sai running straight from the middle of the field. Yeah, it was Sai all along. Oh, it was Negative. Yeah, that's what I thought. It was Negative setting up the pass to Sai.
Okay.
That was so cool.
I mean, you know, you can tell when you're a bit speechless by the passing plays that you see come through. But Sai off that backboard, able to turn around to a strike. And I am going to call myself out. Actually, for this one, because every time I talk about USYD, it's negative, 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 negative. And that is because I am a fan of negative. But not so low-key, Sai throughout this playoff run has arguably been the MVP for this team. Mechanically has looked better and better each series. That backboard shot was absolutely insane. Negative has been playing more of a third-man role, I feel, often for this team, and more in that background. I mean, sometimes, again, you get your double commit situations. Case in point right there with Sai and Negative. However, in the positions where I've been expecting Negative to be stepping forward and being the mechanical player, being the striker, as Negative, well, it's going to strike this one through, Sai has been doing it for a majority for this team. So it's the kind of scary fact that USYD Rokit Lorg, on paper, they might look like a one-headed dragon, but in fact, they are that two-headed Hydra, and Sai might just be the bigger head.
Ooh, okay, I like that. I mean, even in that play, that was, that was kind of Negative playing the third role and just being able to capitalize off the work which was done to pull the defense out of position. Kruzza misses that one and Sai just slips it in. Just to highlight your point, a 5-1 lead early for USYD. Oh, geez, they're just so, like, you kind of mentioned it being like a bit of a high variance game, a little bit flippy, but realistically, the other side of that coin, so to speak, is that one team can just nail a bunch of plays in a row. You know, that's the other part of high variance, right?
And the thing is, Sai is playing very well. That was the hat-trick goal right there. Again, taking advantage of the exposed backboard and just using it to strike far too fast for the defense from Monash to react. Now Monash, though, with a chance on defense. Negative isn't able to find that strike this time. Kevin, a bit of an awkward clear. Kruzza has to attack it from an odd angle, but it does get that ball to the opposite corner. Eki looking for Sai across the middle. Should be intercepted by Kevin, but Freeze committed to a midfield touch. That's going to lead to a pinch. It's not going to be accurate this time around. Monash, they're not looking in sync with each other. The touches are good, but the follow-up not quite there. And USYD has been that faster team. It plays into that aggressive angle, how they're going to look to make a play on every sort of touch. And unless Monash starts to match that, all these great dish outs and all these great passes aren't going to amount to anything.
Yeah, so that's a good condition, sort of not quite win condition, but that's a good point for Monash kind of to play through, I think. And they are getting a little bit stressed by that. They are getting a little bit caught off by those individual attacks. Those kind of shots can come from everywhere. Every touch could be a goal style. But they've got a good opportunity here. Freeze doesn't quite get that one. It's a little bit far off the wall. Kruzza is probably just going to call this one out for the time down because, there's not much more you're going to be able to make of a series like that. It's taking the reset coming into the next game. And I agree with your points. I agree with the points you're making. There has to be more. You can't just rely on those pass plays. But I feel like Monash can do that, right? Like, I think, we say a lot. We always talk about, like, what does the team do to come back? That's how you always kind of frame these discussions when you come into when you're sort of doing a cast like this. But genuinely, I think that a lot of the time teams don't expect this level of aggression in the first game. I think that Monash has the things they can do to come back into it, but oh my god, that's a lot. That's a huge difference you've got to make up,
I mean, just the shot differential we can see right there at the tail end of it all. I think it was like 3-13. Monash needs to find more ways to get on that offensive side of the pitch, to be quite frank, and find more attacking opportunities for themselves. But against USYD, it is always going to be that much more difficult. As we get ready to kick off game number 2, we want to see Monash go for more challenges. We want to see Monash maybe even go for more solo plays, dare I say, because the passes are not going to work. If they're going to be slower, more passive passes, USYD will intercept those all day long.
Yeah, and at least like having multiple options in the play. If you said no, you're going for a pass, it's a different setup. Kevin puts it off the back, but it's not quite on target enough. Negative with a good job holding the ball out for a little bit. But again, you said just turn it around. Now any shot they can fire forward is huge. And there's one from Eki straight out of the right field.
And once again, USYD picking right up where they left off. This time, Eki Jr. actually gets a bit of a strike. And at this level, you can't let anyone have that much space for a shooting opportunity, especially with all 3 defenders in that right side corner. Eki's not going to miss that. Everyone at this stage they'll find those shots. They're going to be accurate enough. Response from Kevin, though, is on the goal line, and Sai will push it clear. That's going to be Kruzza, though, holding it in a tight spot. Eki for the pass back down to negative. Got intercepted by Freeze. Follow up from underneath. Sai looking to throw it towards the middle of the field. No one there to follow it up. It's a bit of a risky defensive effort, but it's just enough for USYD to hold on.
They've got the ball though. They've got another attempt as Sai's just going to flick that one out from above the goal. Monash now, they're not quite going for contest per se. I mean, that certainly was good. If they've got the extra player there, it's going to be Sai to connect that one further forward. They're keeping aggressive. They're keeping the ball up in their attacking half, and I'm liking this. Not overcommitting to the rotates, ready for that counterattack coming through from USYD, but also not giving the ball up, making it hard to make those clears. Sai now has a bit of an opportunity. Actually, it's Eki who goes for it, but basic the wrong way. But it might be the attack broken at least now for USYD. But Monash, that's a much better sign of life. They have to keep it going, though. They have to keep the contests up. That's one way of doing it, but now Negative has a bit of space. Monash kind of playing to what you talked about a little bit, and this might be the straight down the field goal, but one defender gets a touch onto it.
But that's what they need to find, those straight down the center counterattacking opportunities, be it slowing it down, going for the solo play, or perhaps a bit more velocity when attacking these challenges. They need to find ways to find the counterattack, because USYD, they're going to play aggressive, they're going to play in your face, but if you can get that ball behind him, that's when you create the space needed for the openings. And we saw how close Monash was able to get right there. Freeze now nearly has the chance. Negative is able to fall back. Sai will clear it from the box. Does get that second touch. Oh, no one across the middle for the pass. Either way, it does seem as if USYD now is starting to slow the tempo down with their own positioning. They're playing a bit further back than I would expect for them in this series. And, well, it's only briefly until they make sure they get possession again, I would have to imagine. Or are they looking to just try to hold on to this 1-0 lead?
I mean, maybe they can, because Monash haven't been able to find those kind of scoring opportunities, but I wouldn't like it. You know, that's something we never like in a game of Rocket League.
Oh, there we go.
Position like that. If they can get a demo like that, that's going to be pretty good. A huge double commit on the defense. Eki tries to flick it over the top, but there is Kevin still back. They just didn't find the speed on that attack, which is, to be honest, not really like USYD. Double commit on the attack this time, but it's not going to come to too much, because enough time for the defense to get back into it, at least for this play. But again, USYD, tight rotations, quick attack after attack after attack.
Yeah, it is just that. It's just sort of pester that goal for as long as possible. But the scary thing about this attack is they're not actually taking shots. They're still trying to play through the corner, and they're just trying to drain the resources and play a bit more methodically, try to force some openings, and then you expect them to find that quick strike. We kind of saw the shot before, though, where they had the opening. Kruzza just couldn't get enough sort of power on the clear, I guess. I don't think it was Kruzza with the shot. It would have been Eki Jr., actually, who took the shot, and there was just no power there. Kevin has to clear to the safety of the corner. As it stands right now, we are seeing an improvement in the defense from Monash as well, despite the fact that USYD is not directly attacking the goal, trying to burn those resources. Monash has been doing a good job in conserving them, as Kruzza, again, is able to dish it out to the safety of the corner. Yeah,
but Sai, a good attempt there. We're seeing a very, kind of back and forth attack, and more of a structured periods of attack. You know, like one team runs the ball and then it gets kind of taken off them. Kruzza does put the ball out wide again, but they've only really found one clear recently, and Negative just gets that shot. I expected the save to come through, but I think the positioning was just a little off from defense.
Yeah, as you can see, Negative with the pinch play off of the wall. Yeah, you don't expect that one to come through on the Monash side, catching them off guard, but that is just one of the strengths of Negative, and it's always good to see, you know, the RLCS players, again, just find there's a reason why I'm sort of one of the big dogs on the pitch. Negative again, looking to set something up. Great pass, but Eki Jr. was looking for a bump instead of a shot. 1 minute remaining, 2-0 lead. USYD Rokit, Lorg, it could be 2-0 series lead as well if they continue this level of play.
I mean, it's looking pretty good for them right at the moment. They are getting pressured a little bit on the defense right at the moment, but they don't look too uncomfortable here. You know, they haven't looked super tested in the last few minutes of play. Right at the moment, Freeze is trying to keep this offensive play on. Kruzza goes for it, and to be fair, misses it, but so Negative kind of gets pulled into that shot. Isn't really out in position anymore. Kevin's trying to build some speed on this attack, tries to flick it out to that third player waiting in the middle of the field, but that means there's no one back. Freeze has to make an absolute huge effort to get back for this one, but the shot itself wasn't actually on target. Now Kruzza versus Sai almost had an opportunity for the 1v1, didn't work out. Freeze is back on the attack, but with 18 seconds, I don't know if this is enough time.
I don't think it's going to be enough. 13 seconds to go. Sai still going to be chasing along that corridor. Kruzza goes for the intercept, and that will be the space needed. Game number 2 is going to be going in favor of Rokit, Lorg. This time around, a 2-0 series lead. A Monash team that's still struggling to get themselves going. I have to admit, this is a fine time for USYD to start peaking because they're looking better than what we've seen all throughout their playoff run, although that was a 6-0-second pass play for a goal. It's too little too late from the Monash side.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. Like, the point you were making before that, USYD, if they're looking to look good, this is, as you said, just an absolute brilliant time to do so. But Monash still, showing signs of life, incrementally pulling themselves back into this series. If they carry a bit of that momentum in that last goal through, if they keep some of the attacking plays we saw from them, keep focusing on those conditions, they have a chance to get back into it. But USYD's form right now is fantastic.
Yeah, USYD, it really does seem like they are playing at that next level as, all right, players bouncing about. Not too sure what's going on here. I imagine we'll be getting into the match soon. But I think we're actually, it hasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was a patch that if you just, everyone is to jump out, then you don't have to play Lobby Hopper anymore. Like, no, I'm serious. Like, you actually, I don't think you need to play Lobby Hopper anymore. Everyone can just jump out and the game won't start.
I hope so, because we've needed that for a while.
Yeah, no, I think that came through last update.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's been a little while since I've been keeping an eye on updates in general. Sai might have an opportunity there. Eki tries to sort of play that wing to try and flick the ball in, but again, USYD straight on the attack. Yeah, no, I'm not up to date with the most recent patches, but if someone in chat can confirm that for us, that'd be lovely.
That would be.
Right. Yeah, right at the moment, it's just back to sort of Monash trying to find a big clearance out. Cruiser. Yeah, it's a bit of a physical contest on above the goal at the moment. USYD not too shy of going for those knocks, those bumps, those just straight up demos.
Oh, Kevin,
Ooh.
actually coming through huge right there. Demo and the steal isn't able to turn that to a shot, but Freeze is, well, going to live up to their namesake. Freeze the ball in the middle of the pitch, turning it into a strike. Negative has to avoid that Cruiser shot. It was a fake, but unfortunately the initial midfield play was not quite accurate enough. I love that fake, however. Cruza playing around the pass shot attempt actually was out of position as a result. It's just, you got to be accurate if you're going to go for plays like that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a toss-up as to how accurate that shot was going to be. Negative in the perfect position to read that defensive shot. Free's going to keep the ball going, though, try and keep it down the field. Both teams rotating back for, the defense for USYD. I mean, it hasn't quite gone through. We're still playing that midfield kind of ping-pong back and forth. But it might be Monash's a chance to set up another attack, but they keep going through this backboard. They keep trying to run across the goal, trying to get those shots across goal, set up an interception on that shot, and go from there. And it hasn't really been working for them too well.
No, it hasn't been the greatest, but it still can turn around at any given moment. Freeze! Oh, Kevin didn't want to commit. Cruza does, though. Great save by Sai. Unfortunately, no help to clear it out of the box following that defensive touch. Kevin07 puts one in, and for the first time this afternoon, Monash has a lead.
Yeah, it wasn't the most artsy, beautiful pass play like we saw at the end of the last series, but hey, a lead's a lead's a lead, a goal's a goal's a goal, so they've got to feel pretty decent about that one. I think the big thing to take away from that is the fact that Monash held that offensive line really, really well. They ran up, they managed to keep the attack going for quite a while, and it was good. Eventually that gets you goals against even some of the best teams. Freeze is just trying to look for another one right at the moment. Negative might have an opportunity to kind of pass it out, but it just gets intercepted by Cruza. Monash looks so much hotter on the attack right now. Yeah,
Monash are looking so keen for something, anything. Side runs a bit of disruption with Kevin07. The ball still gets dished out across the middle. Cruza following it up. That angle was tight, but Negative will push it forward. And we rarely see USYD kind of put in these situations. Start the counter at new. First own goal of the new streak, courtesy of Sai.
I can't believe we haven't actually cast since the streak died. That's straight back to it. Unfortunate touch. I think it's fair to say. Big time unfortunate touch. Sai was still a little bit close to the post. That doesn't work out that way. But a 2-goal lead, that's one of those goals which is very important. I mean, of course, you have a 2-game lead in the series, and that's a good start, Gonna building yourself that cushion, but you don't want to give any room for Monash to come back into it. Kevin07, a great shot over the top. Krause is gonna go off the backboard as well. Where's the third player? There's Freeze, just puts it in. Actually, no. Eki, perfect defensive positioning.
That was a fantastic little squishy out of Eki, not just to make the touch, but to also dish it out to a teammate for that counter attack. I am actually very surprised that USYD didn't turn that one into a goal. Good heads-up awareness from Monash in order to rotate back in time following that very, very fast counterattack. And now, once again, it's Monash being a bit more of the aggressors. I've been liking this change, although Eki almost got one through with that midfield touch right there. I think this is USYD warming back up in this game. I know there's only just over 100 seconds remaining, but I feel like USYD is getting closer and closer to breaking out that 0-goal mark.
Oh, yeah. It seems like at any moment that could happen. I really love the plays. Oh, actually goes a bit above
Here
the
it
defenders.
is.
There were two cucks stuck in the corner, but it wasn't quite on angle. It went a little bit high off the crossbar, and now it's going to be Freeze and Crozza coming up with a big attempt on the counterattack. Crozza gets demoed, but Freeze is going to pick this ball straight back up, goes straight for goal, and that was, yeah, I'm not entirely sure quite what happened in that one.
Well, when you looked at the opportunity for USYD, they double committed, and if they had shown a little bit more patience, they were going to get the goal. Because they double commit, it led to that fast counterattack, which followed through with some panic mechanics on the USYD side, which Monash, throughout this entire game, have been capitalizing on those more chaotic situations. They do so yet again, get a very critical third goal, and now with just over a minute remaining, Monash very much back in this series.
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's only one game in it after this, as long as they can seal this one out, which with 1 minute to go, you got to think they're going to be able to do. Freeze gets a little bit passive on that one, but, you know, was ready for possible pickup from Eki or a smother. Krause is going to be running back for this one, but Negative in a beautiful position to get that advanced pass. Didn't quite, okay, it wasn't quite perfect in the positioning, but those aggressive, that aggressive position we're talking about. I mean, you mentioned earlier how USYD doing so well at getting clearances and counterattacks and being able to shoot shots from any opportunity. But if they have that extra player up, it means that Monash can't afford to get those 3 players up, get them aggressive, and that is what, that's kind of something which I think is going to be playing into USYD's favor, even though they are scoreless in this game. Awkward sort of double commit off on the wings there, and Cyan Negative might be able to carry this one, but Negative just puts above goal, and another unfortunate missed scoring opportunity for USYD.
So, yeah, they missed. Negative could have scored that if Negative wanted to. I am going to go on a limb and say they were trying to pinch for a massive speed goal right that one. 26 seconds left, 3-0. They're already in having some fun with this match right now because that net was open. Negative was in position, but hesitated to go for the pinch play, which didn't quite work out. That is mildly promising for USYD because it tells me, okay, they are thinking ahead. Let's go next. Let's bring this one back. But Monash, that was the wake-up game that we were waiting to see from them. I dare I say they kind of dominated that. The stats that we see right now, a complete inverse of what we saw sort of at the start of these series. So, interesting turnaround right now. I'm curious to see whether or not Monash can keep up this momentum. If they can, we have an exciting showdown on our hands.
We absolutely do, and even that one game, you know, kind of upsetting the tempo, pardon me, of USYD, makes for a very interesting next game. Like, I don't know quite what to make of this game 4. USYD took the pressure off a touch in that series, but a lot of it was Monash doing exactly what we talked about, taking the aggressive contests, making it a slightly more chaotic game themselves, kind of engineering that play style from their own right, and then capitalizing off it, you know, and that was really good. Negative has an opportunity here to push it off the backboard. Oh, Cruzza, I was a bit worried about that touch, but does go out wide. Negative gets a demo into Kevin 007, but, you know, the end of the play, at least for now. You know, that demo isn't going to come to too much here.
As we do see a bit of a breakaway, that's the pinch that I think USYD was looking for before. This time, though, defenders are back behind to make that save. Might open the doorway for Monash. Challenge in the corner, gets centered perfectly for Kevin. Shot saved by Eki Jr. Good play from the corner. Now looking for a pass back towards the middle. Negative a bit too far back. Side will step forward. And even then has a nice dunk read on Freeze. Eki to follow the shot up off the post and in. Wonderful counterattack. Better pass. Fantastic goal.
And having that player up, having that player pushed up beyond the opponent's defense, just able to receive those passes, flick it in, it plays so well to USYD. I love that. It's not only is it a really exciting goal, style of goal, it's also just, I think, helps USYD get goals where they otherwise would struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that might get some of that swagger back for that USYD side as well, considering how this game has been playing out thus far. Negative, going to go for a dribble play, will be challenged by Freeze. Ball up for grabs. Eki will collect. Crossing out, throws it back down to Kevin 07, who put it high, trying to play backboard, but the backboard defense is strong on the side of USYD, something that may or may not have been lacking from Monash. But either way, Kevin still got close at least, and Monash is still hunting. Cruzza, has to throw it up to himself, and that's actually going to lead to a counterattacking play. Eki Jr., slow pass to Negative, who crosses up the defense. USYD, if they're starting to gel like this once again, Game 3 is just an anomaly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think personally Monash are falling back into the passing style. They're getting a bit, they're falling back into the style they played in game 1 and 2, and whilst they're good at it, it is something which USYD have answers for, which we already mentioned. But, you know, I think that maybe they could pull back into that style. That said, absolutely no doubt that USYD is bringing kind of another gear to this game. Cruzza has the ability to try and take this contest and does a decent job of it as well. He's going to pass that one back to Freeze. Freeze, do you have the angle? Do you have the pass? Do you have something to come up with there? But it's not going to happen. And Negative just has the ability to reset on the attack once again.
As we do see Sai taking that shot after the intercept. 3-0. Sai been quiet since game number 2, making their presence known yet again. The moment possession was lost by the Monash side, Sai is there to punish. 3-0 lead right now. 3 goals in under 2 minutes, in fact, for the USYD side, who are advancing ever closer to match point.
And Sai starting to make a bit of noise in this game is definitely another good thing for USYD, right? Had such a good impact. You talked about it before, played the striker role, was able to get some rather opportunistic goals. 2 players miss. Cruzza picks it up, goes off the backboard, maybe gets a double. The angle was a little bit awkward, to be fair, on that one, and Negative going to try and go for a clear, but doesn't actually get enough pace on that. And now it's just going to be a drop down, not quite in front of goal. It's not the easiest shot to put on target, but, you know, at the end of the day, it will kind of be USYD who pull the best out of that one.
Yes, as we do see Freeze across that middle of the pitch right now. USYD, they pulled a nice little victory there. I still worry that's going to be too little too late overall for this matchup in particular. They do look a lot better when playing aggressive, but I think the big difference that we've been seeing in this game has been the forward positioning of Eki Jr. in particular. Just because Eki Jr. during the first couple games, really the first 3 actually, was kind of off tempo, and it was mostly the Sai and Negative show. I'm going to be quite frank. It was those 2 that were connecting a lot on the aggressive style, and they were the ones that were keeping USYD back. But now Eki has been cheating forward, which has been in passively, giving that space back to Sai and Negative, back before when USYD was kind of struggling to adjust to it. And this minor adjustment has USYD again looking back at that same form that they did at the start of the series. Now, whether or not Monash is going to be able to react to that moving forward, we will see. Getting that goal right here from Freeze, nice start. 2 goal difference, 145 remaining. Fetch, I still think they can do it.
Absolutely they can do it. I mean, it is starting to get to the really important games in this series. You know, you don't want to have to go to that match point. You don't want to have to start stringing those wins back to back. A little bit more comfort for the side of Monash would be a wonderful thing, but 2 goals coming back to back in this game at least is difficult, and that's just to take it to overtime. That said, Monash picking up the tempo a little bit more. Eki Jr. not quite playing as far forward as we were mentioning, but you know, still being the one to get onto that ball. Cruzza, great little juke past Kevin 007 as well, getting a demo there. Shouldn't matter too much in this play, but at least help them get the possession and set up. Does whiff on that shot. That could be a huge opportunity, and when you're in this sort of spot, you can't afford to waste any single shot.
No, you cannot, as we do see. Pass it back across the middle. Kevin doesn't quite get the read they were looking for. A bit too over-eager, perhaps has to fall back forward, and immediately you can just see them take that space and just get as uptight and up close as possible. As we see Freeze now looking to play through that corner. Sai's going to put one up. Cruzza has that high backboard read. Negative stays with it. Ball back towards that middle of the pitch. Eki Jr. with a chance. Actually comes through with 150 and lands in the middle of traffic right now. Still, the longer this ball remains on that orange side of the pitch, the better off things will be. And the second it goes back to the blue side, Freeze nearly finds a goal. Still, though, Monash, they need to find a goal here. Cruzza does just that. And with 35 seconds to go, Monash is back within 1.
There it is, 35 seconds. It was longer than they took to get that last goal, but they put the pieces together nicely. I was going to talk about the demo into Sai. It suddenly turned this game into a 2v1. It meant that Negative and Eki had to go really aggressive. They had to just attack the ball because they knew they weren't able to get back for the rotation, and that gave Monash a crucial opportunity they needed. Cruzza making a bit of a solo play, trying to put the ball in front of the net. Again, every opportunity you can take, you want to. 2 players go up, 2 players whiff, and now it's Cruzza straight on the attack. 24 seconds, plenty of time to find an attack in this one. Kevin wants it. Freeze is going to keep the ball at least in their possession for now, but Negative wants to make a breakaway. It doesn't matter too much right here if they score or not. So long as they can keep the ball in this half, that's good for USYD. 7 seconds left, 1 attack opportunity, and the ball is not it's not in Monash's hand anymore. This is going to be that 0-second play if it happens at all, and I don't think Eki Jr. is going to let that happen.
No, I don't think so either. Freeze doing enough to try to keep this one. Try to stay alive. Nice bump from Sai, and there's the spike. It actually came from negative in the end. USYD advances to match point. 1 game away from the grand final. They got back in form. We saw some life from Monash. They were able to find one counterattack, but overall, this USYD team is just looking so in sync with each other.
Oh, yeah. They look fantastic. And you mentioned as well, I really liked your point about Eki Jr. coming into it. We talked about Negative and Sai. You know, Negative playing a bit of the third role, Sai being the striker, Negative having the ability to step up as that kind of star player and having done so in the past. But now that Eki's really in the fold, now that they're making these passing plays, unlocking these passing plays an additional option to sort of the other things they're doing. I mean, by passing plays, I mean like whole team passing plays. They look really scary. It looks like there just aren't the same opportunities to shut them down, which Monash found earlier.
Yeah, and it's been kind of crazy, too, because we even saw the scoreline at the end of that one, and it wasn't as if Eki Jr. had, like, a large score, like 0 shots, 1 save, I think, or it was 1 assist, but not that major impact. However, it wasn't in the score. It was in the positioning. It was the pressure by just having another body in a different part of the pitch that affected Monash's style enough for USYD to have the space, once again, for Sai and Negative to make the plays that they needed to make. And it's those little things that are sometimes impossible to track that can make a difference in a series right now, and it's really good to see that kind of adaptation come through. That's the kind of adaptation that gets you into grand finals. That's the kind of adaptations that makes you favorites in tournaments. And yes, I have been critical of USYD in the past for their over-aggressive nature, but they do adjust their aggressive approach. It's not like they're a one-trick attacking team. They have multiple ways to attack you, and it's really good to see them sort of show a few of these different styles off in this match.
It is, and I was thinking about on the defense, something else as well. They can afford to have Eki push up and still feel comfortable taking sometimes even the 2v3s in the defensive line. They don't always get the clearances out immediately, but that extra pressure Eki does create, like you said, gives them so many more options. Negative puts this onto the backboard. Sai and Eki both go up for it. Neither really connect because the shot wasn't quite perfect. And it gives Kruzza an opportunity to kind of keep this attack going. Does get intercepted well on the rotate by Negative. But, you know, double commit on the defense. Again, the ball kind of goes in the right spot, so it doesn't matter too much. Side just powers the ball down the end. And again, Monash is put on the back foot straight away after getting what was a decent-looking attacking opportunity.
Yeah, as we do see Sai across the middle right now, actually finding Kruzza underneath. Oh, my goodness, a great pass down. Sai just couldn't quite get the touch they were looking for right there. It's because Kevin was able to run disruption. Beautiful 50 by Kevin. Great strike by Kruzza. And it's Monash in the lead once again.
Monash taking 50s is something I like to see from them. Just it. That's it. That's the whole analysis. You know, Monash taking 50s, they look pretty good.
They look very good in those. And now we're seeing more 50s. Well, that time Sai comes out on top, but Kevin being the faster player. And I like it. A bit of fire under Monash right now. They're playing more aggressive. They're cheating forward. They're going for more of these challenges, and that's how they're finding success. And it's so interesting to me because so often we see Oceanic teams, particularly in recent months and almost recent year, there's been more of a sway within the region to be a bit more defensive-minded and kind of slow the pace down when on defense and go for solo counter-attacking plays that are a bit slower, more drawn out. I think it was really the Direwolves that kind of started that style, and a lot of teams did adapt it. But OCE at heart, Fetch, we should be the attacking ones. We want to give you that low space. We want to be more renegades than Direwolves, I believe. And we are seeing that in this matchup right now. Both these teams look so confident when they're able to just pelter that backboard, pelter that goal. Monash have had their chances. We've seen USYD doing it as well. It's been very great to see sort of the Oceanic region back at its roots here at this intervarsity level.
That's true. That was really my point. I was like, defense OCE? I think we've heard of that once, you know? But no, like it is really good to see that. I still like some of the defensive structures. You know, it's not like it's okay, our turn to score, your turn to score. There has been good defensive play. There have been like solid defensive plays at least, but those attacks coming out of so many different directions with so many different setups, you know, it's the pass plays, it's the cheating forward, it's all of those things coming together. And there's Sai playing one from the middle of the field, the middle of the air as well. And that finds the equalizer with 2 minutes left in the game to go.
Yeah, that was just a delicate touch and a bit of a fake that works out so well for the side of USYD, who tie this one back up. Just over 100 seconds remaining. Kickoff's very good for Freeze. Very good for Freeze. Sai, though, is able to fall back, come through with the save. Follow-up attack from Kevin. Looks strong, but Kruzza's already shutting down the clears. Already finding those tight offensive passes, although the third member not wanting to commit. Freeze can only slow this counterattack down. Negative still going to put one up. Kruzza swings and misses. Demo in the box as well. Eki Jr. with the chance. Plays the backboard. Follow-up shot from Sai. A bit too high as well. I think there was a bit of hesitation from the USYD attack, but not this time. Shot goes in. Eki Jr. spikes it through. 2-1 lead with 1:19 to go.
Look at how many different angles they had. They had Sai, they had Eki, they had, it was negative setting up the play, but they had so many different places they could go with that play, and that's the thing USYD seemed to be pretty happy at doing. We mentioned the fact they have different styles of attack. They could have passed through. They could have got the play out of the corner to kind of cross the defense and flick it back in, but they take the earlier pass, and it's just so good. It makes it so hard to defend against.
Yeah, it was so difficult, and it really felt like throughout all that Monash was just barely surviving this attack. Well, now Monash, they're on the blue side. They need this goal to stay alive. Freeze actually doesn't get to it before Eki Jr. does, and that opens up a pathway for Negative to clear it straight down the middle. No boost, no matter. Pass back to Sai. He could have taken the shot. I feel as if Negative perhaps got a bit dissuaded by the lack of boost. Now a chance for Freeze, intercepted by Eki.
Yeah, a couple of opportunities there, but nothing to come from it. I mean, at the moment, USYD, they don't have to feel too stressed about this one. They are in the advantage. Kevin gets Demo. It's going to be a 1v1. Kruzza against Negative. Kruzza forced to take that shot a little bit early, so enough time for Negative to react to it. Right now, as the time is ticking down, this is just everything USYD won. I mean, another goal would be nice, but it's not like it's necessary right at the moment, given how well they've been able to fend off Monash's attack so far.
As we do see Sai passing Eki Jr. Ball off that backboard. Do we see a strike? Not quite yet. Kevin 07. Just going to keep that one held up high. Negative throwing it forward again to Eki Jr. 8 seconds remaining. A goal would have ended the game. Instead, the ball gets behind the third man. Sai's able to rotate back in time, but still a challenge from Crusher puts it forward. 0 seconds to go. Ball hits the ground, and the University of Sydney advances to the grand final.
It was a much shorter series than I think we expected in terms of that one. USYD run tempo on that game so fantastically, not just in the traditional sense, not just controlling the speed of the game and the passes and the runs, the runs up the field. It was just the fact that they got an advantage, they ran with it, and they only gave Monash a few opportunities to sort of counter hit. Such fantastic stuff from USYD, adapting ahead of their opponents, being able to build offense from, as we said, so many angles, all the things we said that game. Absolute masterclass of Rocket League from University of Sydney. Yeah,
they constantly seem to improve throughout this knockout stage of the event. They constantly are proving to be the strongest team, and well, now they're in prime position. They're now that #1 seed. And the thing that I loved most about this series in particular, it wasn't just the Negative show. It wasn't even the Negative and Sai show. We finally got to see Eki Jr. have that big impact on the team. And they look near unstoppable once all three members are firing on all cylinders. Granted, there are still some very strong teams in that losers bracket that are going to be trying to fight their way through. So it's not as if this tournament is all said and done. In fact, I can kind of bring it up right here. We can see, I mean, you've got some interesting matches. UniSA versus RMIT Black. UQ Purple versus the UTS Eshays. That's going to be on stream later tonight. Not to mention now Monash Ball Chasers. They're going down right here. As long as UniSA beat Lethal is still lurking around, I feel like they're still probably the favorites of this tournament, if not the UTS Eshays. However, this is a huge step forward for the University of Sydney.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming into that grand final, getting that first seed, that feels so good for them. Doing it in dominant fashion as well, as they've kind of been building to. And I think that anyone who wins that lower bracket is going to be a little intimidated by them, of course. Yeah, you said it. UDSA, always a huge threat. And we do generally tend to have our losers coming from the lower bracket, if history sort of...
Yeah, they always seem to do well.
Yeah, that's it. I don't believe it was what happened last season. I think that was coming from the upper bracket. But it is such a big, these lower bracket teams are such a big threat. It'll be fantastic to see how those go. As you mentioned, UQU versus the Eshays. That'll be an interesting one later on tonight.
That will be. But until then, we're going to be sending you guys... we could call it a bit of an extended break. I do have to hate to break it to you. The stream will come off. We're not going to sit around that long. Not until 8:30 p.m. AEDT or 7:30 p.m. AEST, or I guess for you, Fetch, that's going to be 7 p.m. yourself, as you are in weird, crazy half-hour difference time. Either way.
I'm in ACT. I'm Australian Eastern Daylight Time.
Oh,
so it's 8:30 for me.
What's ACST then?
What?
Right.
I don't know. We'll float this out off stream. It's all good.
Australia time zones are strange. Daylight savings is strange, and if you live in a state with daylight savings, you should be ashamed of your state. That's all I'm going to say on that note. We're going to say goodnight. Once again, a big thank you to all of our sponsors, Chatime, Predator, AOC, Indomie, as well as Rig. And until later this evening, we'll catch you out there on the pitch.